Welcome to Prepper Nation. I am John. Thank you very much for being here, for subscribing to the channel. Blah, 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 whatever YouTubers are supposed to say. I'm kind of an unconventional dude myself. But thank you for being here. So, what if I told you this morning that you might be getting out prepped, not by the people in chat, because we know, look, man, I'm a realist. I know there are quite a few people in chat who are out prepping me. I know there are other people in other communities here on YouTube that are out prepping me. Like, I'm not numero uno. I totally get it. But what if I told you this morning that you might be getting out prepped by millennials and Gen Z? Not just millennials and Gen Z, but liberal millennials, liberal Gen Zers. So there was a big report on the New York Post, and they came with a lot of receipts. Um, the report is actually called, in case you want to Google it or something, "Why Younger Americans Are Stockpiling Supplies Ahead of the 2024 Election." That was the title of the report. It's a very interesting report, though, because I think we kind of get stuck in this rut in the prepping community because let's face it, you don't have to raise your hand and chat if you don't want to, but most of us are conservative or conservative minded to a degree. We consider ourselves conservative Americans, and we kind of just get in this rut and we get tunnel vision. We think that all preppers or all people that are pro Second Amendment are conservative like we are. And this report smashes that into little bitty pieces, and they're out prepping us numbers wise. Okay, so they were asked in the report, younger generations, why are you prepping? What has led you to doomsday prepping or prepping for SHTF? And here were some of the standout replies, the most popular replies. Number one was, in case Trump wins again. There are literally prepping channels that have sprung up where liberal content creators are on there encouraging preparedness in case Trump wins and gets back into the White House. And those are picking up a lot of steam. I don't know. I can speculate because Google is probably pushing them up as one of the gatekeepers while, us rats got to stay in the basement over here or whatever. But it is what it is. I ain't complaining. Society is unraveling was another popular response. The climate, oh, there's a shocker. The climate has us worried, therefore, we are prepping for doomsday because Greta said so, son. And a possible national divorce. So, 3 out of 4 ain't bad. I got to hand it to these liberals. In case Trump wins again, no, I don't think you have to worry about it if Trump wins again, but they're smart enough to know election chaos is coming. Because again, as we've even discussed on this channel, it doesn't end well one way or the other. Trump gets in, things get straightened out for a little while, legally speaking, especially at the border, but internally you're going to have tons of chaos. Okay, they're just saying if Trump wins again, there's going to be tons of chaos. So they are correct on that part. Society is unraveling, absolutely. The climate, y'all let me know what you think, but I'm with this mindset on that. A possible national divorce, absolutely. We're seeing the groundswell of this sentiment down in Texas right now. For the people that continue to leave comments, say, "Oh, I'm in Texas. I'm checking all the border crossings. I never see anybody." Go to Eagle Pass, Texas. That's all you need to do. But they dropped some statistics here. 39% of millennials and 40% of Gen Z have admitted to doomsday prepping within the last 12 months. So this is not just related to the C-19. At first I thought, well, maybe they're going back before the C-19 and maybe they're counting all of that as well, because there were a lot of people scrambling during the C-19. But no, this is over the last 12 months since that officially ended. 39% of millennials have been buying up, whatever the case may be, whether self-protection, whether survival food, camping gear, purification, maybe generators, and 40% of Gen Z, compared to, and this includes us, folks, 29% of the US population overall. So there are more millennials and Gen Z who are prepping than people that kind of fit into the demographic that watch Prepper Nation. So again, that's startling. You like to think you're the only one. You're the smartest cat in the room, right? We like to get on here and think we're way ahead of the game. And we are versus non-preppers. I mean, look, we're ahead of the game compared to zombies. There ain't no doubt about that. But 39%, 40% of millennials and Gen Z have figured out why this is important to be prepping. And so we're not fleecing them. They're trying to out prep us actively. And a couple of the other comments that they left, reasons for doing it, they were shocked by the 19. So we talk about sometimes an event will happen and a light switch goes off and that person becomes a prepper from that point moving forward. So a lot of people were shocked by the 19, a lot of the younger generations, and they just kept doing it. They got into the preparedness mindset. And some of them said worried about LEO brutality. Again, I'm in rural America, so it's not really for me to say, but I don't see that here. But again, I'm not in an inner city. So we are prepping for different reasons. Now, I'm talking about, Gen X, boomers, maybe, folks that are in this chat by and large. I know we have a few millennials and Gen Z maybe in this chat, but not many. Most of us are going to fall into that Gen X or, you know, people that live throughout the hippie age. You get what I'm saying? We are prepping for different reasons than the younger generations are prepping. They're prepping, again, for fear of the climate and never Trump. Can never have a Trump back in the White House because the idea of that's apocalyptic to these folks. We're prepping for a lot of different reasons, but I would say the global agenda, and as we were talking about yesterday, the idea of a wider war. Things just getting too far out of control and globally, and us being able to control what we can control at home. I've said this time and again, we can't really hands-on affect what's happening in the Middle East here in rural America, but I can affect what happens here at the Ponderosa. I can make sure that we're protected, that we're fed, that we have ways to purify water, that we can stay warm, we can try our best to stay informed, this sort of thing. So control what we can control, and the rest is total chaos. This is at least how I think of it. And there seems to be, according to this article, there seems to be a race when it comes to prepping. And I get it. Prepping is not a race. It's a very, it's a long event, right? It's not 6 months and you're done or anything, but there seems to be a race right now between the younger generations who are prepping like their hair is on fire, according to this article, and us folks who are just prepping as we can afford to and doing it the right way, I think. But the more I thought about this, it sounds like good news. It seems like good news that these younger folks are prepping, Gen Z and millennials. But at the same time, it's also happening against limited resources. Then we're going to begin to get into, at some point, supply and demand. And I'll give you just a quick example, but I think it's a perfect example. We went to Aldi this past weekend, the grocery store, because they're a heck of a lot cheaper than our food lines in our food cities, especially if you're getting a decent amount of stuff at one time. And so we go to Aldi from time to time. It's the busiest I've ever seen this place. Um, and as I'm walking around, it was not lost on me that most of the people in there, they were younger than Miss Nation and I. And at that time, I can remember thinking, well, this is the economy. Man, people are getting slammed and they're trying to buy their groceries cheaper. But now, having read this report, it makes me wonder how many of those people I saw were actually preppers. And I just didn't know it because I don't want to say we're arrogant, but we just assume that all people of certain generations are stupid, and they're not. There are people that are millennials that are smart, that are prepping. Um, Maybe they're liberal. I don't know if they're smart, probably not, but there's some liberal preppers who are millennials and also Gen Z. So I wonder how many of those folks were actually just prepping and they were out doing the gray man thing. And, again, you get into the supply and demand. Another good example is, and y'all can pull this up on Google if you're interested, but it's called Fortitude Ranch. There are 7 of these ranches. I believe there's 7 that are open up right now. A former Air Force general, I think. I can't remember his name, but I know he was in the Air Force and he was very high ranking. I'll put it like that. Runs these compounds, and that's what they are. They're military style compounds. They have underground facilities for people that are into preparedness. They're set up in a way that they're military positions that are reinforced around the compound. It's really what you would consider to be like if you were to look at it with our set of lenses, Gen X and Boomers, they really look like a heavily fortified military trained mag. But what they do is they rent spots. So the spots are $1,200 annually at these places, and you go down underground and you've got your own little spot in Fortitude Ranch. Again, there's 7, but they are growing. And these things apparently are wildly popular with the younger generations that we're talking about. So it seems like people my age and older are trying to do our own thing and form our own thing and trying to you know get military style positions and kill boxes and just stuff like this set up on our own property, whereas younger folks, they may not have their own property, so they're just paying an annual payment and they're renting a spot at Fortitude Ranch. And really what it breaks down to for me is you have two parallel communities, two prepping communities, but they're parallel, meaning they're separate of each other. There are not a lot of Gen Zers and millennials who are liberals who are prepping, peeking into Prepper Nation, I can promise you. If so, they're going to be offended and they ain't going to be here long. There's probably not a lot of people here in chat, peeking through the door at these liberal prepping, channels on YouTube. We're both focused on prepping, but I think we understand that long term living in harmony is not an option. Coexisting at some point is not going to be an option. And again, younger people are placing their faith into the former military who are renting the privilege, whereas a lot of your conservative folks are former military and they're like, well, I have the same training. I'm just going to set up my own property and stuff like this. So, no, you're not crazy for being a prepper. Just know that liberals are trying to out prep you. Understand that moving forward, because it was kind of, the numbers were kind of eye opening. I figured, I know some liberals out there who are into the Second Amendment and stuff like this and are, you know, they're veterans and stuff like this. So they've had the training. I knew that was going on. I didn't realize how many younger people with a liberal mindset are also prepping. And so it feels like, I don't know, like everything was just blown up right in front of my face. I thought we were this big, exclusive, semi-secret club, where we knew what was coming and we were prepping accordingly and we were going out and we were gray man in public. But now that I realize there are two parallel prepping communities with two totally different ideologies. I mean, these people eventually, they want to survive whatever they think is coming, and they know they're going to have to wipe conservatives out, the ones that have survived. Conservatives are over here, and we're thinking the same thing. We got to survive whatever's coming, and then whatever's left, we got to scrub the commies off. You know what I mean? And it was just eye opening. Just know these people are out here to out prep you. Um, and I think that the real war, at least with these two parallel communities, um, is a war of attrition. Who's going to be able to outlast the other? You know, will these liberals on Fortitude Ranch who've bought some stuff and rented some stuff, rented some protection, if you will, are they going to be able to survive longer in places like Fortitude Ranch? Or are us conservatives, will we be able to survive longer and outlast in this war of attrition? I don't know. How long do you think you can last? Let me know in the comments. You think you can outlast a millennial living on Fortitude Ranch that has bought and paid for the privilege of protection and that has a bunch of survival food in tow? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Take care. Godspeed and God bless.